Well, hello. I am live. First time. Name is Danny Cobbin. Let me see if I can get you some light so you can actually see me. That's a little bit. I'll get better the next time. Name is Danny Cobbin, 1-1 coaching, where the perfection is the enemy of the good. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about relationships and what you do when communication's just not what it is that you want. So, three things. First thing is loving the way that person needs to be loved. Communication just for the sake of communication. And the last but not least, what to do now. So, my last YouTube video was sent to you from California, and I was talking a lot about how I miss my wife and some of the reasons why I do miss my wife. Well, this time around, what we're going to talk about is some of the communication that we have together with each other. Yeah, I need a lot more light than this. So for next time, I'll know. Now we know. Okay, so communication. Communication just for the sake of communication. So me and my wife, fantastic. When I came back from California, though, I was thinking that there was something that needed to be done, something that I needed to do in order to successfully like move our relationship forward. We are already in a great relationship, but I was like, okay, well, what can we do to communicate better? What can we do to make things just a little bit smoother? I got back thinking, okay, well, we can work on our communication. We could go for walks. We could do this. We could do that. And what it turned out to be was I just needed to say, I love you, and step back for a second and say, what are some of the things that you need in your life in order for me to successfully move our relationship forward? And it took her a second because she was kind of like, well, that's a weird question. But what ended up happening is because we love each other, just like you and your significant other love each other. We start with that base, and the base is love, and then we branch off, and then we always come back to that base of love. So she was just giving me some of the different things that she thought that I could do in order to help the relationship. And one of those things, just be still. And what I mean by just be still is not just talking for the sake of talking, but actually connecting and communicating. The second thing that I want to talk to you about was loving the way that they need to be loved. That kind of ties in with what we just talked about. A lot of times we get up in our thoughts and in our head about, oh man, what if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? What if they don't love me because of this? What if they don't love me because of that? But the truth is if you've been together for any time at all, that's because you like each other. That's because you love each other. And that just means that you got to find that common ground, that tree, that base once again. Some of us are building roots. So always building on a firm foundation so that whenever we're moving through our relationship, we're moving through our communication, it's top notch. And the reason what I do in order to love the way that she needs to be loved is, for me, sometimes love is let me go play my PlayStation, let me go read a book, let me go for a long walk. For her, it's let me watch this TV show for 30 minutes and then we can connect. I just want to talk to you for a minute about my day. And me as a man, I don't know about some of you guys, when they start doing that, I'm like, oh, here we go again with the day talk. But what's important is they don't need us to do anything. They just need us to listen. They need us to be there and be present. And the third thing that I really want to kind of get over to you guys, or really want to share with you, is love the way they need to be loved and the way they want to be loved. That was the last one. The next one is what to do. What do you do next? Now that um, you've thought about, hey, how does my significant other need to be loved? I just want to communicate with my significant other just to make sure things are great. So, for instance, the other day, me and my wife talked about, we talked about the babies, but in a way, we were like, okay, so what do we do about my daughter? We have twins. My son gets in the way of my daughter. So we'll have like goldfish on the table and we'll separate them. So one gets here, one gets here. Son moves over to take my daughter's goldfish, and my daughter, so I can move my son away because He goes like this. Oh, move away. Don't be so next to your sister like that. She goes, ah, and bites him. And the next thing you know, you look up and all you see is him crying. And you're like, why are you crying? You keep approaching on her stuff. And you pull down her shoulder and she's ah, and bit him. So we're talking about just like, hey, how do we want to handle this as parents? How do we want this tree? How do we want to use that with the branches? So branch here is what I'm thinking we should do. Branch here is what she thinks we should do. We come together to make sure that we have one solid plan. Now the plan doesn't always work, but when we communicate in that way, and a year, 6 months, 3 months, communicating on small things like your kid biting, communicating on things like, what is it that you want to eat for dinner? Are you tired and need just like 30 seconds to yourself so that we can communicate together? So, again, the things that I really want to touch on today is uh, communication just for the sake of communication, loving your significant other the way they want to be loved, and just be on what to do next. When you're here, as you know, and when you're in your head, you're dead. So you want to be here and communicate from that heart center to your significant other. So sometimes we communicate brain to heart. What we want to try to do as often as possible in my household is communicate heart to heart. Y'all have a great day. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. That's my first time getting an opportunity to say that. A few things for the next video is we'll have better lighting. I'm going to be on time because I didn't know that you had to use Chrome versus Safari. We're learning, and this will get better every day, every week. Y'all share with your friends, and we'll talk to you next time.